Hello, fellow pyros. I have recently discovered that I absolutely love wood burning and watercolor together. And I got asked a couple times on Instagram to post a tutorial, but I'm quite honestly very new at this. So this little wood burning with watercolor is the third time I have done wood burning and watercolor together ever. And I just thought if I post a progress video for you, then maybe you guys can learn from my learnings and we'll just learn this together. So hopefully it helps you. So I already have my wood burn mountains and my pretty little forest scene. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to mask off that area with this art masking fluid from Winsor & Newton. And what I do is I just paint over the mountains on the part that's going to be the closest to the watercolor. Now I want you to notice here, I'm using a really cheap brush, a brush I don't care about, a brush that I can just cut off the end and use again. And then the next time I cut it off, I can just throw it away. And what this will do is when it dries, it'll kind of be like a glue and be sticky and very water resistant, which is perfect for what we want. And then I tape off the rest just to make sure I don't get any splatters on the wood burned part. Now I'm going to add water and I'm just going to get the wood wet. Be careful not to drown your wood here because you can split it, but you do want it to be wet because it will be thirsty and it will soak it up. Then I take a very thick black, like I don't water it down tons and tons, and I try to fill in those edges because when I water it down, it kind of turns into more of a gray, and I don't really want a gray. I want it nice and black around the edges. Now here I'm using a small detail brush. It probably would have been better to use a larger round brush, but this is what I used. This one is the rounder brush, a slightly larger detail brush. And I'm going to take some of my bright blue and I'm going to blend it into some of the black and towards the center. Now I'm going back to my black brush and I'm going to blend it in a little bit more into my blue. And the reason I'm bouncing between the brushes is because instead of going light to dark, I went dark to light. And I don't want any of my dark paint mixing into my colors or my light paints and all that kind of nonsense. Coming back in again with my blue. Now I'm going to come back in with what's called a filbert brush. I actually don't know what you use it for, but I'm using it for putting water in the center. I just wanted a clean brush so that I could blend it in a little bit better. And so I still went back in and pulled in more of my black and more of my blue because I'm really going for that deep, dark night sky look. Now I'm going to come back in with another detail brush and white paint. This is where I get to make my Milky Way, my real cloudy, distant, starry galaxy. I want to do some extra colors, so instead of just the blue, I decided to go ahead and pull in some purples, and I'm putting it here and there in the galaxy part itself, but then I want to put it on the edges too, just to add an element of interest for the eye. Now I'm going to come back in with my black and add a little bit more fine-tuned detail and really try to make the colors a little more dramatic. Now I'm going to come back in with just water on my brush, and I'm going to make some of these parts blend and bleed a little bit. Now, what I don't want is for this to look like the sun glowing over the horizon. I want it to look like a galaxy, and since there are parts of the galaxy that hit the horizon and parts that really do not, I decided to add some real stark contrast on the horizon in the middle so it looked less like the sun. Then I added some fun little stripies of white and some other little details here and there. Now you don't have to color in the bark. If you can manage to leave a clean edge just on the wood, great, you can do that. But for me, I really like the look of a really dark black edge. So I came back in to really add that contrast and make the edges really black. So I let that dry for a little bit, and then I came back in with some really mostly dry paint. It was just barely damp, and came back in to add some extra details. I probably could have left it alone at this point, but I wanted to just see what would happen. Once I am satisfied with the extra details that I've added, it's time to let it totally dry and then add some stars. And here's where I struggled. I didn't have a very good brush, so I quite literally just dipped a construction paintbrush, the smallest one I had, in paint, and then I tried to massage it through so that it wasn't too gloppy. Didn't work out all that great, but that's what I had to work with, so that's what I did. And it splattered it beautifully in some places and not so beautifully in others. You can see that big old splatter right in the center. I didn't love that. So what I did when I was all done with this was I went back in with my detail brush, and the first thing I did was try to blend out the drizzly splatter that, in my opinion, was not fitting right there. And then I went back in and added some stars. These are done with acrylic, by the way, not with watercolor. And something that I learned was you can make little starbursts by dabbing the star with your finger and kind of blurring it out. And then you can add acrylic over the top to the centers. And then you have cool little starbursts. Now, when you've decided that you're happy with your starry little night sky, it's time to let that baby dry all the way. And once it's dry, it's safe to go ahead and peel off that tape and the sticky, gooey masking fluid that has turned into glue. And once you make sure all the nasty stuff is off of there, your beautiful new art piece is ready to be sealed. I will likely be using a varnish or at least a UV protectant polyurethane. So that was my little progress video. I hope you guys found that helpful. If there's anything else watercolor and wood burning wise that you guys would like to see me do, please leave that in the comments below. Also let me know if you liked it being a little bit longer and a little less quick, because a lot of times my progress videos and my tutorials tend to be very fast, and some people have mentioned it's a little too fast. So if you could tell me in the comments if you liked it this way or if you like it better faster, that would be fantastic. And if this was helpful to you at all, please hit that like button and hit the subscribe, because I'm going to be doing a whole lot more tutorials and things for you guys. So stay tuned. Mwah. Ciao for now.